Hey everybody, this is Perch. I actually appreciate this mail. I don't appreciate my car beeping like that. I appreciate this mail, which just kind of lays out the question in a fairly simple way. Now, I don't know that you'll appreciate my answer because I'm going to give you a boring business answer, and unfortunately, I just can't compete against kind of videos or answers where it's just more tittillating, for lack of a better word, of the answer is they're trying to gay all your children. I mean, and if you think that's an exaggeration, there's that is a theory that's put out by people on a regular basis. And I mean, it's easy to say things like, Hollywood's out to, just warp your kids and they want to turn it, and a variety of reasons for that. Some that skew religious, some that just skew unethical or, blatantly kind of money grubbing. There's a lot of different reasons. But in many cases, the reasons for these things are more boring. They're more business reasons, stupid business reasons, to be sure. Because if you work in any company, what you'll notice is even when somebody has a good idea, it often takes a long time for that company to implement the good idea, even when it's very clear to everyone that it's a good plan. It's like they describe a lot of companies, particularly big companies, as very slow moving ships. And I'm sure, again, for a lot of you who, if you work in any kind of corporation, you see this and you see the stupidity of management. And it's a cliche that management is dumb like this. But anyway, let's get to this question and then you'll see a little bit of what I mean. And then I'll try and give you just the straightforward answer. No pun intended. You'll understand what I mean. Okay, Mail, how much does the entertainment industry think they could get away with it? Also, there's capitalization on random words in that sentence. And I think I didn't read that well because I think that the person was actually trying to communicate kind of emphasis. So it was how much does the entertainment industry think they could get away with it? That's which makes sense I know I read it all funky, but that was the idea. Typically, when you do the uppercase, lowercase, it's somebody like clowning. Everything is stupid, dar dar dar. But in this case, I think the person was trying to. All right. What's funny is I'm going to read this and then I'm going to give you my answer, and I'm going to simultaneously get people pissed that I even gave this letter oxygen, and then I'm going to give other people pissed that I did not answer with to give your kids the gaze. This is a no-win situation. People often, this is what gets called a fence-sitting position. But you'll notice what I will describe here is not a fence-sitting position. It's just a position, just not the exciting position people necessarily want. Anyway, all right, here's the mail. After a decade screaming, "I hate man," or "I hate white man," technically they usually say men, because it's too time-consuming to do one man at a time. Anyway, now man finally wake up and gone. Okay. I got to stop. I will go back through this. I'm reading this as the mail is written. All right. Not funky. Okay. I'm reading it as it was written. It's okay. It says, after a decade screaming, "I hate man," or "I hate white man," now man finally wake up and gone in droves. Now they want to shame men into an affected politics. Sorry. Now they want to shame men into an obligation of support people who hate us. That now affected politics that they still don't get. Why would I, am straight man, ever support people who hate me? Now the question. Do they are so incapable of going out of its bubble and its warp reality to notice now they are going out of business because of the attitude to men? Or are they doing intentionally that? Okay, that's the mail, and I'll put it on the screen. And you never know. Some of the people here, they're writing in a different language, so I don't clown on that. I mean, there was one guy who wrote like an AI bot that did just enough. But this I'm going to assume it's a somebody where English is a second language. So I've answered this question in different ways. So same way, but just kind of different videos. I'm going to answer more straightforward here. First, I don't buy the argument, and I think there's countless evidence. They're not intentionally. So, do you notice how they're going out of business because of this attitude, or are they intentionally doing that? No, they're not intentionally doing that. If you believe that they're intentionally trying to tank these businesses, um, it that requires too many problems. Like it's like saying Marvel secretly hates Spider-Man, so they're going to deliberately put out shitty comics with Spider-Man so that Spider-Man has no readers and then it goes out of business as a way to win against the white male. And that's not no, people aren't doing that. You don't have saboteurs trying to intentionally screw up, different properties. It's kind of exciting to think that because it actually makes more sense. It makes like, if you're thinking like, how in the world could you F up Spider-Man? Like it's hard work to actually screw up a property in some cases. I mean, the funny thing about comics is you've got, properties, and by properties, you have IP there that has like 60 years in it. And so that, one of the advantages to, having so many comics out is, and that much history, is that it actually makes it kind of bulletproofs it to some extent because there's so much continuity, so much past that, it's harder to F up than something that only has a few years of history. But some companies are definitely working hard to do that. It feels like. And so it's kind of exciting to think that, well, the reason why, these things are failing when, any idiot can do it properly is because they want to tank it just to teach us a lesson. Unfortunately, no. A lot of, the people who are writing this stuff are, I mean, in my mind, if you get a take on Spider-Man is just totally bad, I think there's a number of factors at play. First off, the writer really has no financial stake, in this property. Think about this for a moment. And you have to, in this point, put pride in your job out the window. You're hired to write Spider-Man. You are given a contract where you are paid, $60 a page. All right. $60 a page, 10 pages equals, your math, $600. Okay. 20 pages equals $1,200. Okay. 22-page comic. How much? Okay. We're at 1,200 plus 120. Okay. That's $13,000. No, I'm kidding. It's $1,320. And then you got taxes. So that if you're being paid that to write a comic and you have no health insurance, you have no, long-term incentive at Marvel, then are you going to go out there and try and write the best damn Spider-Man story you have, rich in continuity, or are you going to go out there and write something that entertains you? This is a weird way to look at it, but if you're paid those kinds of rates, I mean, and there's other factors involved, by the way, you have royalties, you have other things, but put it this way, and that's 1 month, if you get hired as a writer for a full year, well, that's cool. 12 times the, 13. Okay. Now we're, over almost $14,000 for, for actually more than that, actually for 12 months, you're almost at $15,000 before taxes. As a writer on a comic, the challenge in this is, that's not a livable wage. You're definitely in the poverty zone if that's what you're making, and you would have better success going to Starbucks, putting on an apron and making lattes. You would make more money. If you're in that position, do you have loyalty to that company and to that character? Or are you doing kind of, your take on it because F it, why not? Now you would hope that people get this job would, basically, do so, do the best they possibly can because they take pride in their work, because they are in love with the character. I mean, put it this way. I've said this before. I'm not a fan of Nightwing. I don't particularly like the character. I'm not a big Nightwing fan. If DC hired me tomorrow to be the writer of Nightwing, I would still try and do the best job I could on Nightwing. I would go read a bunch of the old comics, try to get the spirit of the character, try and do something really tremendous because I'd want to basically honor the character and the title that I was given. I'd want to do the best job I can. But in a weird way, at these rates, comics are basically charity. If you think about it, I mean, that's not enough money, at that area to really do much. So you're for all intents and purposes, it's like you're doing volunteer work, and again, you hope people are going to do the best they can for the respect of the lore and the character and everything else. But on the other hand, why? And that's the thinking that a lot of people have. And so, to answer your question, first off, and I've said this before in a lot of videos, and it feels like I'm just repeating myself at this point. If you feel like somebody hates you, if you feel like just bothered, like they've come at you, and I still maintain, and I know it's not a popular opinion on this channel, that it's largely not personal. But if you feel that it is, and you as a consumer, I can't decide that for you. The people in the comment section can't decide that for you. Only you get to decide it for you. And if you decide they hate you and you feel like burned, or like that one guy fisted buying the comic, then you should stop immediately. You hold all of the power. Your wallet holds all of the power. And don't getting wrapped up in the, yeah, but I've always loved Spider-Man and this is Spider-Man, so they really should do a better job. Well, sure. Look, it's 2024. I should have had a flying car. I should have $10 billion. There's a lot of things I should have, but I don't. So, you gotta, that's part of growing up. If somebody's abusing you, you leave it, end of story. But you got to put yourself in the head of some of these creators. These are people who are, in some cases, not all the cases, but in some cases, making very little money, given no long-term financial incentive to, stick with the company or do anything meaningful with it. And so they will make the comic they want to make, because why not? Like, what's in it for them to tell a story that you want? And you may say, well, that's very selfish, and that's a shitty way of thinking about it. And yeah, you're right, it is. But that doesn't make it any less true. You know your morals, how your work ethic and what you do, but you are not, you're not the world. Everybody's going to have their own work ethic, their own standards, their own way of looking at this. And for a lot of people saying, yeah, you're paying me $60 a page, you're going to get $60 worth of effort. I mean, hell, Eric Larson, is he still the CFO of Image Comics? That blew my mind always. But anyway, I was writing Savage Dragons in charge of your financial operations. Okay. Anyway, Eric Larson, and I don't know if you remember this, but like a year ago or so, it was a bit ago, he wrote a post basically like, hey, as an inker, you set a stopwatch and you 30 minutes and you're done. Doesn't matter what it looks like. Fuck it. You're not getting paid much, so just get it done. Yeah, I think that's a really shitty attitude, but that is a common attitude. There's a reason why you read some comics, you're like, this plot seems eerily similar to Game of Thrones. I'm going to let you in on a secret. Guess what the writer was watching at the time they were trying to come up with the plot of that comic? It's Game of Thrones. So, in that instance, when you think about somebody who is being paid very little, has no real incentive or motivation. Now, again, you should have pride in your work. You should do best by, what you're hired. You're getting paid to do something, so do it well. You should have all of those things built up in you, but you don't. But some people don't. And some of those people are writing comics. And ergo, that's why you get some of the comics you get. This may or may not. What's weird is, I guess you could twist what I'm saying into some kind of, deep-throated defense of the comic book industry. But really what I'm telling you is just this is more human nature than anything else. If you pay somebody very low and they're basically doing volunteer work, you're going to get volunteer-level results. And so you're going to get somebody who's going to go on Twitter and talk about their politics or, the infection that's coming out of the piercing that they have or whatever the fuck they're thinking about. And then they're going to write comics that may or may not be quality, may or may not hold true to the character. A better question is why their managers, why the higher paid people in the company are letting this happen. And there's a really simple answer to that too. Because they can. because there isn't, like, nobody has sat down, and this is crazy, but I promise you this is true. Nobody has sat down at a table and been able to put a business case together and say, hey, if we actually give a shit about these characters and we put a proper business strategy in place and we do this and this and this, we can actually increase our volume of comics 10x. You know, how many MBAs, financial analysts, people are going into the big two and helping them with their business, or even the indies? But time and time again, you will go to the indies, and what you will discover is that it's filled with people, you know, from comic years past. That's who's making these decisions. These are not MBAs. These are not people who have, you know, won or lost millions of dollars, who have done startups and doing all these other things. These are people who are largely fans. And while there's nothing wrong with that, you know, are you getting the best of the brightest to manage this industry? And the answer is no. Full stop. No, you are not. Sad to say. Anyway, be that as it may, what do you think? I can't wait. To me, all this is pretty easy. I don't know. I mean, it kind of is shitty, but it is what it is. Doesn't make it right, but it is a hair better than these people had a personal vendetta out to destroy comics. Unfortunately, these people had a, you know, poverty level that resulted in not really caring too much and spending the time entertaining themselves versus actually building a career, because there was no career to build. If you're being paid $60 a page and, you know, you're not a forward business thinking individual, you know, you don't believe in your heart of hearts that you can be the next, you know, Mark Miller to get a deal with Netflix. You know, are you going to try? How hard are you going to try? It sucks, right? Make no mistake about it. It does suck. It's also kind of, unfortunately, the way of the world, not just in comics, but a lot of places. So there you go. On that happy note, thanks for listening.